One small act of kindness can spark a chain reaction, changing lives in ways we never see coming. Every choice we make leaves a mark, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. Welcome to Tales of Kindness, where every story proves that kindness is never wasted. If you love stories that inspire and uplift, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep this circle of kindness growing. Now sit back and let me take you on a journey that will touch your heart and remind you of the power of a simple, selfless act. How long can one person bear the weight of endless hardship before everything shatters? For Lydia Mercer, a woman who had always placed her faith in love, family, and a future built on shared dreams, a single act of betrayal turned her world upside down. In one devastating moment, the life she had painstakingly built was ripped away. Her husband disappeared without a trace, leaving behind insurmountable debts, 2 young daughters to protect, and a future that no longer resembled the home she once cherished. The nights turned bitter and cold, and empty pockets soon became the stark reality of her struggle. But just when Lydia felt utterly abandoned, an unexpected figure from her past reappeared. Could she ever trust again? Or had life taught her that hope was merely a fleeting illusion? Think back. Have you ever experienced a moment when everything changed in an instant? If you have, share your story in the comments below. Lydia Mercer had always believed her life was built on unshakable foundations. At 42, she enjoyed a seemingly stable existence, a loving family, a steady job as a high school art instructor in Philadelphia, and a cozy home filled with memories. Her passion was art, and she inspired her students to explore their creative depths. Ever since she was young, Lydia dreamed of opening a small gallery where local art could be celebrated, a place to showcase the hidden talents of those around her. Her husband, Daniel Mercer, 45 years old, presented the picture of an upstanding family man. To friends and colleagues, he was a charming and successful businessman with a confident smile. But behind his affable exterior lurked a man driven by greed, always chasing after the next big deal. His silver tongue convinced everyone that his choices were in their best interest. Lydia, like so many others, trusted him implicitly. When one of his risky business ventures began to crumble, Daniel approached her with reassuring words and a stack of legal documents. "This is just a precaution," he had said in his calm, velvety tone. "This will protect everything we've built together." Without hesitation and in a display of unwavering trust, Lydia signed the papers. She never imagined that, in doing so, she was handing over every financial asset, their savings, every property they owned, every ounce of security they had built. Within days, Daniel vanished. No goodbye note, no explanation, only the painful realization that every joint account had been drained and every mortgage shifted out of her name. Calls to his phone went unanswered. In a matter of a week, Lydia's world fell apart. She fought desperately to keep their home, but with the assets legally out of her control, the bank quickly reclaimed it. Suddenly, Lydia and her 2 daughters were left with nothing. Olivia, aged 16, understood the betrayal more than any child should. She felt a fierce anger and a deep, unspoken sorrow. Meanwhile, little Mia, just 10 years old, clung to her mother, unable to fully grasp why their once safe haven had crumbled into uncertainty. All of their cherished belongings were hurriedly packed into a few battered suitcases. Lydia had devoted years to creating a warm, secure home for her family. Now, that haven was gone, replaced by the harsh reality of the streets of Philadelphia, where every cold night and every harsh wind reminded them of their loss. With no other option, Lydia accepted a job at a modest bakery in the heart of the city. The work was grueling, long hours on her feet, serving customers and scrubbing counters until her hands ached. The pay was barely enough to secure a tiny, run-down apartment in a less desirable part of town. The winter chill seeped through the crumbling walls, leaving them shivering night after night. The apartment was a far cry from the life they once knew. The old decorated home was now a cramped, cold space with peeling wallpaper and drafty windows. Olivia was forced to leave behind her friends and the familiar comforts of her old school, becoming the reluctant new girl in an unfamiliar environment. Her anger simmered beneath the surface. Anger not only at Daniel, but also at the world for letting this happen. Mia, though too young to understand all the details, sensed the sadness and missed the warmth of a home that once brought smiles and laughter. Every day was a battle. Lydia spent her mornings and evenings juggling shifts at the bakery, her body aching and her spirit nearly broken. Yet, every time she caught a glimpse of her daughter's hopeful eyes, she found a reserve of strength deep within herself. Even when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm her, Lydia forced a smile and cracked light-hearted jokes, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy. On nights when a few extra dollars made their way home, she would buy a small treat, a warm pastry or a simple sandwich, and share it equally with Olivia and Mia. In those brief moments of shared delight, their struggles were momentarily forgotten. But on other nights, as Lydia lay awake beneath a cracked ceiling, she would wonder how long she could continue like this. Would the harsh winter ever give way to the promise of spring? Could she truly rebuild a future for her girls? One frigid evening, as Lydia sat outside the bakery during a rare break, the deserted streets of Philadelphia offered little comfort against the biting cold. Wrapped in her worn-out coat, she stared into the darkness, feeling the weight of loneliness pressing down on her. As she fumbled through her bag for a piece of stale bread, the unexpected sound of an approaching car made her heart skip a beat. A sleek, dark sedan pulled up beside her. The headlights revealed a man stepping out, someone who stirred memories of days long past. As Lydia squinted against the brightness, recognition dawned on her. It was Caleb Monroe, a familiar face from her youth. Back in high school, Caleb had been the quiet, unassuming classmate who always lingered in the background, a constant presence without demanding attention. Now, as he approached her on that cold night, his posture was confident, his attire neat, a stark contrast to the disarray of Lydia's current life. "Is it really you, Lydia?" he asked in a tone mixed with disbelief and genuine concern. In that instant, Lydia felt a rush of vulnerability and shame. She turned her eyes downward, wishing to hide from the memories and the judgment she feared might be in his gaze. Caleb's eyes softened as he took in the sight before him, the threadbare coat, the tired look in her eyes, and the shivering figure of Mia beside her. Without asking for further details, he removed his own coat and draped it over Mia's shoulders. "It's freezing," he said quietly, his concern palpable. Lydia's pride flared, and for a moment she hesitated. "We're managing," she insisted, though her voice betrayed her exhaustion. Caleb shook his head gently. "Lydia, you're standing out here in the cold with your daughter, sharing one small sandwich between 3 people. It's not just about pride. It's about safety." His words cut through the silence, laden with unspoken care. Before she could offer any further protest, Caleb extended his hand. "Come with me," he urged softly. "At least for tonight. You and the girls can have a warm place to rest." Lydia's heart pounded. The offer was too kind, too unexpected. "No, we're fine," she mumbled, shaking her head in denial. But Caleb's gentle insistence and the tender way he handled the situation eventually wore down her resistance. Reluctantly, she accepted his guest invitation, even though accepting help felt like admitting defeat. Inside Caleb's spacious, welcoming home, Lydia and her daughters were enveloped in a warmth that felt almost foreign. The plush furniture, the crackling fireplace, and the simple, hearty meal Caleb had prepared for them offered a stark contrast to the starkness of their recent life. Mia's eyes widened with wonder at the sight of a real, roaring fire, while Olivia lingered by the doorway, still guarded and wary. That night, as Lydia lay in the soft glow of a guest room, she couldn't shake the feeling that accepting Caleb's help was both a surrender and a fresh beginning. His kindness made her realize that sometimes survival isn't about facing hardship alone. It's about knowing when to let someone in. In the quiet hours of the early morning, while the city slept under a blanket of darkness and frost, Lydia's mind raced with thoughts of the past and the uncertain future. Yet, the memory of Caleb's offer, his genuine concern and his unwavering support began to kindle a small flame of hope within her. Over the next few days, life in Caleb's home began to reveal its gentle rhythms. Mia quickly adapted, her laughter and curiosity filling the once silent halls. Olivia, still battling a storm of resentment and confusion, retreated to her room, leaving Lydia to wonder if she had made the right choice. Caleb, understanding that healing takes time, never forced any quick fixes. Instead, he offered quiet words of reassurance. "You don't need to have it all figured out right now. One step at a time." As Lydia began to settle into this unexpected refuge, she was gradually reminded of a passion she had long buried. One evening, while they sat together in the softly lit living room, Caleb casually remarked, "You used to love painting, didn't you?" Lydia blinked in surprise. I haven't touched a brush in years," she admitted, the memory of her once vivid dreams stirring within her. Caleb smiled, his eyes reflecting a quiet certainty. "I remember you once told me about a small studio you dreamed of opening, a place where you could share your art with the world. Why not explore that passion again?" Hesitant but intrigued, Lydia confessed that she felt lost when it came to starting over. "Maybe it's time to consider a new path," Caleb suggested, pulling up a web page on his laptop that showcased online courses in digital art and design. Lydia stared at the screen in amazement. The courses were flexible and designed for beginners who wanted to rekindle their creativity. Although unsure at first, the spark of possibility flickered within her. "I could try," she whispered, feeling both fear and excitement at the prospect of rediscovering herself through art. Days turned into weeks as Lydia began to embrace this new chapter. She attended her online classes with cautious optimism, slowly regaining confidence in her artistic abilities. At the same time, the warmth of Caleb's support helped her see that rebuilding wasn't about erasing the past. It was about finding new ways to heal and move forward. Yet as Lydia started piecing together her new life, a different kind of pain emerged. One late evening, after a long day filled with art assignments and small victories, Lydia returned to Caleb's home, only to find an unsettling emptiness in the apartment. The once lively sounds of her daughters were missing. With a heavy heart, she searched the quiet corridors until she reached Olivia's room, where a single note lay on the pillow. In Olivia's neat handwriting, the note read, "I don't want to be a burden anymore, Mom. Please, live your life." Lydia's hands trembled as she clutched the paper, the weight of neglect and misunderstanding crashing over her. Had she been so absorbed in trying to rebuild that she failed to notice her daughter's emotional pain? The realization stung fiercely, and Lydia's heart ached with regret. Determined to find Olivia and mend their fractured bond, Lydia dialed Caleb's number with shaking fingers. "She's gone," she managed to say through quiet panic. Caleb's response was immediate and resolute. "I'll be right there." Minutes later, he pulled up outside, his face etched with concern. Together, they scoured familiar spots: the high school campus where Olivia had once laughed with friends, the nearby park where they had spent countless afternoons, and even the small corner diner where breakfast was a cherished ritual. Every location turned out to be empty until finally, as if guided by memory, Lydia remembered a place that had once been their sanctuary: the old downtown library. "This was our refuge," Lydia whispered, her voice heavy with both hope and sorrow. Without a word, Caleb steered the car toward the venerable building. Inside, amidst the hushed rustle of pages and soft lighting, Lydia's heart pounded as she searched for Olivia. In a quiet corner near a window, she found her daughter curled up on a chair, eyes lost in the pages of a book. "Olivia!" Lydia approached slowly. Startled, Olivia looked up, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "How did you find me?" she asked quietly. Lydia knelt beside her, the overwhelming guilt of neglect pouring out in a whispered apology. "I'm so sorry. I was so caught up in trying to fix everything that I forgot what truly matters. You." Olivia's defenses began to crumble as she allowed her mother's embrace to offer solace. "You're not a burden," Lydia murmured. "I need you as much as you need me. We're in this together." The reunion was tender and raw, a moment of healing forged in understanding and unconditional love. With Olivia back by her side, Lydia's determination to rebuild their lives took on new meaning. That night, as they drove back to Caleb's home, Olivia's hand found Lydia's, and for the first time in a long while, Lydia felt a glimmer of hope. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in Caleb's house began to shift. While Mia's laughter filled every room, Olivia's guarded silence slowly gave way to cautious acceptance. Caleb continued to offer gentle encouragement without pressing too hard. "Take your time," he'd say, leaving room for healing to happen naturally. Lydia, meanwhile, dedicated herself to balancing her newfound creative pursuits with the immediate needs of her family. Slowly, she began to see that rebuilding wasn't solely about financial stability or creative fulfillment. It was about rediscovering the love and connection that had been obscured by hardship. One chilly morning, as sunlight filtered weakly through the guest room window, Lydia finally finished her first complete design project, a detailed layout for a small art cafe she had long dreamed of opening. Her hands, once trembling with self-doubt, now moved confidently as she reviewed every stroke and detail. It felt surreal to witness her passion returning, a passion that had lain dormant for far too long. A gentle knock on the door interrupted her reverie. Opening it, she found Caleb standing there with an encouraging smile. "How does it feel?" he asked softly. Lydia exhaled slowly, a mixture of disbelief and gratitude in her voice. "It feels miraculous." Caleb's eyes sparkled with pride. "Come on downstairs. We're celebrating tonight." Later that evening, as Lydia stepped into the warmly lit living room, she was greeted by the smiling faces of new friends and familiar clients who had rallied around her during this trying time. A festive banner stretched across the wall read, "Congratulations, Lydia." Amid the laughter and clinking glasses, Lydia felt overwhelmed by the realization that she was not alone anymore. The night unfolded in a blur of heartfelt conversations, shared memories, and gentle humor. Even Olivia and Mia, who had weathered their own storms of emotion, joined in the celebration, smiling and laughing in a way that filled the room with genuine warmth. For a moment, Lydia allowed herself to believe that despite the past's pain, the future held promise. But just as the joy seemed to crescendo, an unexpected shift occurred. Caleb's expression changed as he moved closer to Lydia. With deliberate calm, he reached into his pocket and slowly knelt before her. In his hand, he produced a small velvet box that caught the light in a way that made every detail seem precious. "Lydia," he began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion, "I never wanted merely to see you stand on your own again. I want to walk with you, through every storm and every sunrise. You and your girls have become my family, and I cannot imagine my life without you." Tears welled in Lydia's eyes as Caleb opened the box to reveal a delicate engagement ring. "Will you marry me?" he asked, his words soft but resolute. In that moment, as the room held its breath and every eye shone with hope, Lydia's voice broke through the quiet. "Yes," she whispered, and then with a surge of joy, she cried out a louder, heartfelt, "Yes!" The room burst into applause and cheers as Caleb gently slipped the ring onto her finger, sealing the promise of a shared future. Embracing her tightly, he whispered assurances of love and commitment. Olivia and Mia rushed forward, wrapping their arms around the couple in an exuberant display of familial unity. That night, as the family gathered by the fire, Lydia finally felt whole again. Days turned into weeks, and Lydia began to see the fruits of her perseverance. With Caleb by her side, she continued to nurture her creative passion, slowly rebuilding her career one project at a time. She also learned that true strength wasn't just about enduring hardship. It was about learning to lean on others when needed and giving love freely in return. Yet even amidst these bright moments, Lydia couldn't forget the lessons learned in the darkness. Her journey had taught her to always be present for her children, to listen to their silent cries, and to ensure that while she rebuilt their world, their hearts were never left unattended. Olivia, who had built emotional walls in response to past neglect, gradually started to lower her guard, while Mia's innocence continued to remind Lydia of the importance of warmth and security. One evening, after a quiet dinner, Lydia found herself alone in a softly lit room with Caleb. The gentle hum of the fireplace mixed with the soft murmur of nighttime outside as they talked about the future, a future that was slowly taking shape with every small victory and every shared dream. "We're not just surviving," Lydia admitted. "We're learning to thrive, even after everything has been taken away." Caleb's hand rested reassuringly over hers as he nodded in silent agreement. The following morning, as Lydia woke to the sound of gentle laughter from down the hall, she took a moment to reflect. Every hardship, every tear, and every small triumph had led her to this point, a point where she was not defined by her losses, but by her resilience and her renewed hope. In the days that followed, she balanced her online art courses with designing new projects, each one a tribute to her journey of rediscovery. Then one quiet afternoon, while Lydia worked on a new project in her small studio space, she received a message that reminded her of the fragility of life and the enduring power of love. It was from Olivia, a simple note that read, "I'm here if you need me." Overwhelmed by emotion, Lydia realized that despite the hurt and misunderstandings of the past, her daughter's heart was slowly beginning to open up again. In that moment, Lydia understood that rebuilding a life wasn't solely about financial stability or creative success. It was about restoring trust, connection, and the bonds that truly mattered. In the following weeks, as autumn gave way to a quieter winter, the Mercer household settled into a new normal. Lydia's days were filled with small victories, completing an art design for a community project, sharing quiet moments of laughter with Mia and Olivia, and finding solace in Caleb's unwavering support. Every evening, as the family gathered in the living room, the warmth of their togetherness overshadowed the chill of past hardships. One evening, after a particularly successful project unveiling at a local community center, Lydia looked around at her daughters and Caleb and felt an overwhelming gratitude. "We have been given a second chance," she thought. "A chance to rebuild, to love, and to truly see one another." In that spirit, Lydia resolved never to let the pressures of survival steal away the moments of tenderness and connection that had become so precious. Then, as winter's grip began to ease and the promise of spring lingered on the horizon, Caleb organized a small celebration, not just for Lydia's professional achievements, but for the family's rebirth. Close friends, new and old, gathered in a modest venue, adorned with fresh blooms and gentle lights. There, amidst soft music and heartfelt toasts, Lydia shared her story. It was a narrative of loss and betrayal, yes, but also one of hope, transformation, and the power of love to rebuild even the most shattered lives. During the celebration, as Lydia recounted the painful yet transformative journey she had endured, she urged everyone to remember that asking for help was not a sign of weakness, but an act of courage. "We all face moments when life breaks us," she said softly, "but it is in those moments that we discover who we really are and who we can become." The audience listened intently, many moved to tears by the raw honesty of her words. After the event, as Lydia and Caleb walked hand in hand under the starlit sky, they spoke about the future. Plans were made to expand her art projects, to open that small gallery she had dreamed of since youth, and to create a space where anyone struggling could find solace and inspiration. It was a vision built on the promise that no matter how dark the past, the future held the light of possibility. In the quiet moments that followed, Lydia often reflected on the many lessons learned along the way. The journey had taught her to embrace vulnerability, to let go of pride when it meant accepting help, and to remember that love, whether between parent and child or between partners, was the glue that held everything together. Her story became a beacon for others who felt lost, a reminder that even when life seemed irreparably broken, new beginnings were always possible. As spring finally crept into the city with gentle warmth and soft rains, Lydia's renewed energy and creativity blossomed alongside the season. The once dim corners of her life were now illuminated by the vibrant colors of hope, connection, and genuine affection. Her daughters, once caught in the shadows of neglect, began to smile more freely, their laughter echoing through the rooms of their new home, a home built not just of bricks and mortar, but of love and second chances. One memorable afternoon, as Lydia put the finishing touches on a new mural for the community art space, she paused to take in the scene around her. Caleb watched from a short distance, his eyes reflecting pride and admiration. "You've come so far," he said quietly. Lydia smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile that spoke of hard-won peace. "I never imagined I'd be here again," she admitted, "but every struggle led me to this moment." That evening, as the family gathered around a long dinner table at Caleb's home, laughter and conversation filled the air. Stories were shared about past mistakes and future dreams alike. In a particularly tender moment, Olivia approached Lydia and said, "I know I hurt you, Mom, but I'm learning too. I'm sorry." Lydia's eyes softened as she pulled her daughter into a warm embrace. "We're learning together," she whispered, "and I'll always be here for you." The night unfolded, with the family reflecting on all they had endured and all they hoped to achieve. Caleb, with gentle humor, recounted moments of his own youthful dreams and how fate had intertwined their lives in ways neither could have predicted. It was a celebration of resilience, of the quiet triumphs that eventually rebuilt a life once thought lost. As the festivities wound down and guests began to say their goodbyes, Lydia and Caleb lingered on the porch, watching the night sky. The stars above seemed to whisper promises of new beginnings. Lydia, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude, thought of all the twists and turns that had brought her here. "I'm not just surviving anymore," she murmured. "I'm truly alive, and I'm home." In the months that followed, Lydia's journey continued to evolve. With Caleb's unwavering support and the newfound closeness of her daughters, she ventured further into her creative world. The online courses opened doors she had long thought closed, and soon Lydia was collaborating on larger projects, designing spaces that celebrated art, community, and healing. Her small gallery began taking shape in her mind as both a tribute to her past and a beacon for others seeking to rebuild their lives. Each day brought its own challenges, but also moments of quiet triumph. Olivia, still processing her own emotions, gradually embraced the support around her, and Mia's cheerful innocence remained a constant reminder that love could mend even the deepest wounds. Lydia learned to balance ambition with empathy, understanding that while creative expression was vital, nurturing the bonds of family was equally important. One crisp morning, as Lydia prepared for a new day filled with art and hope, she sat down at her desk, a space filled with sketches, paintbrushes, and memories of a brighter past. Looking over the pages of her designs, she felt a surge of confidence and gratitude. "This is my new beginning," she thought, her eyes shining with determination. No matter how dark the night, The dawn always comes. And so the Mercer household continued its steady transformation. Lydia's art flourished, and with it her sense of self. Her daughters grew more secure and happy, their lives intertwined with the love that Caleb and Lydia shared. Together, they discovered that while life might shatter expectations, it also offered endless opportunities to rebuild, renew, and find beauty in the smallest of moments. As the season turned and life's rhythms settled into a new cadence, Lydia often recalled the long, painful road that had brought her to this place of healing. Every tear, every setback, and every moment of despair had taught her that true strength lies not in solitary endurance, but in the power of love, support, and the courage to embrace new beginnings. Her story was not just one of loss, but a profound lesson in rediscovery. A reminder that even when everything is stripped away, the heart's capacity to love remains unbreakable. In the quiet of one final evening, with the soft glow of the fireplace illuminating a room filled with memories and hope, Lydia sat with Caleb, Olivia, and Mia close by. Holding their hands, she looked around at the faces that had become her sanctuary and whispered, "We've rebuilt our lives, not just with bricks or art, but with love, resilience, and the promise of a new tomorrow." As the family settled in for the night, Lydia's heart was finally at peace. The journey had been long and fraught with hardship, but in that moment she knew that every trial had led her to a place where hope, creativity, and love reigned supreme. In the gentle silence of the night, she vowed never to lose sight of what truly mattered: the bonds of family, the courage to ask for help, and the strength to pursue one's dreams, even in the face of unimaginable loss. And if this story resonates with you, remember that sometimes the hardest moments in life are the very ones that pave the way for our most profound rebirths. Share this tale with someone who might need to hear it, and never forget, even when everything is taken away, hope remains, waiting to be rediscovered.